working with University of Wisconsin with Kim Whitmore and the Break Exchange on the COVID study and an international study of how providers are meeting the challenges of COVID-19 in their service delivery systems. And one of the things that has come up that I think really ties to the work you all are doing in sustainability is how organizations can support or impede programs' ability to adapt and provide services. So I thought I would take this opportunity to ask you, Doris, and you, Jill McCormick, what challenges you may have encountered in meeting your state goals and objectives with lifespan respite. I'm thinking in terms, I'm thinking in both in financial terms and programmatic terms. So any challenges you've encountered, and I'm also interested in how your state has worked to meet or overcome those challenges, through leadership, organization, funding, flexibility, any of those. So what challenges? You can just hop in and think aloud. We don't need like sophisticated and thought out answers. Just kind of want to gauge what you're dealing with in your state.
Well, it's Doris.
Hi, Doris.
Jill's been holding those weekly calls.
Yes.
I think has kept an incredible amount of data on the challenges and how people are addressing COVID.
Yes.
I mean, for me, if I guess I don't think state, I'm thinking coalition specifically.
Okay.
And because we don't provide direct respite, at least at this point. Oh, there's the screen.
Hi, Yuda.
Hi.
There you go. Okay.
I don't know. I disappeared. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you. So good.
And Doris was just talking about how the New York Coalition has responded to the challenges that have come about because of COVID.
Okay.
Okay. You gave me a second to close my closet doors. That's good. Okay. Holy cow. Anyway, specifically, I'm thinking about the coalition because we don't provide direct care respite, at least at this time.
Right.
And I'm aware of other programs and the challenges that they've gone through, training or supporting caregivers with powerful tools. Everybody's gone virtual. It seems to be working well. There's a lot of lessons learned about how we can offer that going forward, maybe hopefully in addition to in-person kind of trainings and support groups.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, when it comes to sustainability, we had our sustainability summit planned for August, and then we and then we postponed it for August, and I've just postponed it to October, and I just keep trying to push it out. But what's frustrating for me is the work has pretty much stopped. So I'm looking at ways to kind of take what we had planned on doing the sustainability summit in person and gather some of that information virtually. Now, I think I had talked about that we worked with the Health Foundation of Western and Central New York, and they did a respite pilot project, which is still going. But we did 4 weeks of really intensive workshops on project management and brainstorming. And now I've discovered these two new computer applications. One is called the Thought Exchange. Has anyone heard of it?
No.
And the other one is called Idea Boards. And Idea Boards, first of all, you can do it in a virtual group meeting, but it's literally people will type their brainstorm ideas into the computer and then they pop up on the screen as a sticky note. So you are gathering all those ideas and then you can kind of talk through encouraging them to just come up and brainstorm with more and more ideas. The thought exchange is very cool because you can put it out there for a day or a week or whatever through a link. And then it actually sorts and prioritizes all of the ideas that come out and comes up with the top 3 based on all the responses. So
Wow.
what we're thinking about is putting together, I mean, we have our, you know, we had put together this great agenda for the summit back in August. We had all these speakers. So we're thinking about trying to do like short sessions of maybe who these speakers are, and then putting thought exchanges and maybe even doing it regionally throughout the state, because I think it would net really different information about how we could be more impactful in different areas of the state, say New York City versus the Finger Lakes, which is really rural.
Right.
So we're trying to put that together. I've brought it to my advisory boards. They're all, you know, they think it's an exciting way to go, but at least we wouldn't be totally stalled in our sustainability planning. We just need to find a different way to do it.
Wow.
And we have, you know, we have the skeleton, so I just want to get it out there.
I think that sounds brilliant. So have you played around with the apps, the thought exchange and idea boards, or have you actually used them?
I actually used the idea boards. I didn't use it. I participated in one, which got me really excited. And the Health Foundation of Western and Central New York actually used it. They're the ones who'd been training using the sticky note process.
Right.
And they actually used it for one of their final meetings after the state went on pause. And so I saw how well it worked. And then I discovered Thought Exchange, which actually does the sorting for you. So I'm kind of excited about that. One of the other challenges, and I know maybe a lot of people won't be able to relate to this one, but one of you know, we have funding from another funding source here in New York. It's through the University of Rochester Medical Center. And our grant with them is up, well, our fiscal year ends June 30th. And so because the conference keeps being postponed, I'm underspent in that. And I don't want to lose the money, so I'm trying to figure out how to spend the money. It's much cheaper to do conferences online because you don't have to feed anybody. So that's one of our challenges right now, is spending that money and it's the first year of 5 years for that grant. We have asked for a no-cost extension, which I'm sure we'll get, but it's still a challenge that we're not used to having.
Right. Yeah. This came up in the data a lot, that the funders' willingness to be flexible varied greatly for programs, and I wondered if that was something that you were experiencing too. But it sounds like they're willing to work with you.
I don't know what just happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Could you hear my question?
No, I didn't. Because it went. I got an you're muted thing, so I don't know. What was the question?
So I was asking about one of the things that's come up in the data for programs is that some programs are working with funders, and the funders are very flexible about when and how they spend the money, you know, what they spend it for. They're allowing alternative models. And it sounds like University of Rochester is willing to work with you on funding. Is that right? Are they pretty flexible?
They are. And actually, so is ACL. We reached to them about a no-cost extension because we have 5 or 6 mini grants out there, and they're all volunteer respite programs, and they haven't been able to move an inch forward on their grants. So
right.
ACL told us, you know, we'll do it when it's closer to the end of August, but they told us that they would absolutely be willing to be flexible. So we're hoping to be able to allow those mini grants to do that work and get reimbursed for it through March 31st, 2021.
So let me ask you about the mini grant programs, about in terms of sustaining their work. Are they doing anything, or are they just kind of on hold?
They're just on hold because it's all in-person stuff.
Right.
And we are in New York, we're only just just moving to phase 1 of reopening. And I think any of those social adult day programs and things like that are all in phase 4. And we've been informed now that we are dangerously close to be putting back on pause because of hospitalization numbers.
Right.
And that's really strictly because they're not allowing any nursing home people who went to the hospital who aren't testing positive, and that can take up to 3 to 4 weeks. And so there's a backup of nursing home patients who don't really require care, but they can't be released back to nursing homes. So we may, we may be taking a step backward in the next day or so.
So let me ask another question about the mini grant. So they're all, one-to-one in-person respite programs. So they're on hold. Would your funding allow you to fund them if they had an alternative model like virtual case management or something that kept families connected and supported in a different way, or is there any kind of flexibility with mini grants in terms of funding and the kind of model they use?
There would absolutely be flexibility for us. The thing is, except for one of those programs, they're all brand new upstarts.
Okay.
So they really don't even have their clients in place.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Wow, you're a fountain of information. Thank you.
This is Jutta. Can I ask also about your the mini grants? Are those like one-time events, or are they actually putting together a program for like friendly visits and in-home respite?
Actually, none of them are in home respite. We have one who this would be her second round of funding for us, but they've put together an idea. They live in a very rural area, and so they put together, they're calling it a respite roadshow, which is to open respite every month in different areas in the rural areas. So people have some opportunity for respite, where in the rural areas they have very little. Others are drop-in respite programs, those kinds of things. And we have another mini grant that's trying to support providing respite for all the caregiver education programs in their county. So Powerful Tools and the Tai Chi, all that, as a way to try and to see if we can help boost attendance in those in-person trainings. So the problem for spending the money is if they go virtual. I know Lifespan's doing Powerful Tools, and they're doing Tai Chi, and they're doing Matter of Balance, and they're doing all these virtual classes, but it's not expensive to do. So it's not like they can really spend their money except to bill for staff time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Doris, I've got one more question about the with your summit and your sustainability planning. You're moving to online meetings using the Thought Exchange and/or idea boards. How did you figure out how to do that? Was that like just a single person like you, or was it your coalition team? And is your coalition team all on board and involved in this different approach to the planning?
So Sharon is the only other coalition staff person. She's my assistant director, and she was both involved in that Health Foundation respite project. So we learned a bit that way, and then we kind of went looking for different platforms where we might be able to continue our sustainability work. Our advisory think it's a great idea, and I don't want to do it in place of an in-person summit, because I think there's so much value to energy in the room and people, really sharing ideas, networking. And I'm truly, honestly, I don't know how you guys feel, but I am getting tired of staring at my computer all day and doing Zoom.
Yeah.
So I would like to continue with an in-person summit, even if it's that I still have this very large room and I handpick 50 people to come and participate in it, and I can keep them socially distanced. That is a possibility as we move forward. But you know, it's frustrating to hear that we're going to go back a step here in New York if necessary. I think we're all, you know, living on hope and a prayer and a dream, and that we can get back to business as usual. But I figure I could be a mile ahead of where I would have been if I only had the in-person summit, if I do this pre-work.
Right. I think it's a really good strategy, and it just keeps things going. You know, you're not letting it die from lack of being able to get people together in the room. I agree it's better with everybody in the room, but I applaud you that you figured out this way to keep it going, and I think it's a good model for other people.
Well,
So good on you.
Yeah.
So hello, Washington. Glad you're here. And the question I had asked about the group, I had asked the group about any challenges they've encountered in meeting their state goals and objectives. So sustainability planning, but just sustaining actually the activities that you do in order to meet your goals and objectives, and how you're meeting those challenges. So just jump in.
Well, I'm jumping.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think that we still are providing respite, in that we still have people who are asking for respite. Our respite providers have created pathways and protocols around keeping folks safe. We've been able to keep in contact with our respite providers to see where they are in the process, and then provide that information out to consumers and up to the state. I think sustainability within this process for us has been, the big thing has been, we were able to get a no-cost extension, so that those families that are still in that process have a longer period of time to complete their respite hours. And it gives the respite provider agencies that capacity to kind of work with families to move things along. I think for the coalition piece, we have moved to virtual, but people seem to be participating with that, and we've really kind of upped the ask of them on what they want to see in a virtual process, and what makes sense to them, and who's not at the table, who would they like to see come through the door, and what would they like to hear? How would they like to plan moving forward? I think we've talked about going from bi-yearly, so 2 meetings, to maybe a quarterly, so that people stay connected more often, that they have a greater say in what they're working through and what we're looking at long-term in the state.
Yeah.
How to be creative.
Yeah. I've been to a Washington Coalition meeting. It was great. And I remember there was a group that met together in a room, a smaller group, but then there was really broad participation throughout the state. And you're finding that's holding up. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, yeah.
That's okay. I can see you shaking.
Yeah, it seems to, and we will go back to the in-person and virtual. I mean, that was always our platform, was that we'd love to have you come, we'd love to have you participate, but if you can't travel, if you can't make it, you can still participate on an equal platform. That there are ways through Zoom and GoToMeeting that we've been able to do polls, give, so people have been able to give in-time input, that surveys can be linked so that we can see how things are meeting people's needs. pretty quickly.
So do you have any worries about financial sustainability and program sustainability let's just say over the next year?
Can I chime in on the prior thing, if that's okay?
Oh, yeah, please.
Oh, no worries. Good morning, all. Sorry to be late. I got
Tracy.
a call about 20 minutes ago, and I thought, oh, I'll answer that because I have the actual cell phone when people are calling to get respite in our state.
Oh, yeah.
And I went home with it, and it hasn't been ringing off the hook, but there's been more emails than anything. So in our voucher area, as Jill is saying, we had a coalition meeting in March, at the end of March. So it's like right in that, convection oven of businesses closing, people figuring out where the phases are. And just like you, Doris, we're still in phase one in our counties, and the majority of Washington state is in phase one. A variety of other counties can be in phase two, but they also have to apply. So, they're going very systematically. I can't say that everybody's complying, but I think people are doing the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
So really quickly, we have another coalition meeting next week, and we pivoted on how we were doing our outreach to, get folks to come. And it's all been emails. They, like myself, put out all these emails in far as batches of 50 to like hundreds of people. And the response to the survey of what do you want to hear? What can you bring forward? What things are on your mind? What would you be willing to share? Are really tracking quite well. I mean, it's small, but it's very robust as far as, people coming back and saying something. So if you don't mind, I could just show you really quickly what we sent out to the respite providers, because we're really pretty happy. I think Jill and I and the crew are really happy that we're getting respite providers who want to come and talk. Is that okay if I just show you this little?
Yeah. That's fabulous. We want to know what's working.
Well, this is like we're trying. So I guess it says that the participant screen sharing has been disabled. Because I click on the share screen, but it won't let me.
It's not letting you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it might be in a setup thing. Oh no, I think it just came through.
I just fixed it. Sorry.
You're the best.
I didn't know anyone was going to share, so go ahead.
No worries. So is this big enough, y'all?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just a 2-pager. It's, kind of, it's not like a big old infographic, but it was us being able to share to our respite providers kind of a snapshot of what's been happening. So we came to that place of, sharing with them who our caregivers are. And this comes out of our data behind the scenes on Salesforce and our voucher. So this was when we sent this, Jill, like 3 weeks ago. So it's about 3 weeks old data at the moment, but so it's pretty up to date for the most part. And, we're trying to be positive during this time. So we really wanted to thank and acknowledge. The really exciting part is that we have 52 registered providers, and we have probably about 6 in the queue right now. They're just kind of waiting a little bit more till COVID goes through. They've communicated with us. That's the largest, as I understand it. And just to give a perspective, around January, March-ish of last year, we had 19. So,
Wow.
This is like a big deal. We're like, what? This is a historical record. And we're really excited that we have in the Tri-Cities area, so central to our state, very rural, very farming, huge agriculture, much like Doris, upstate New York has a lot of agriculture. So this is that area. And we have a horse riding coming through, and they're going to do a partnership, which we thought was really exciting, where I could have my child or my loved one go do the equine therapy, and then counselors are going to have a therapy group, a support group on the side for the caregivers that are there. So we were really excited about how they're approaching that, and we're really thrilled that they joined us, as well as Spokane, which is our 3rd largest city in the state, all the way on the eastern side, very different topography. They get tons of snow, hot summers. All of us are on the rain shadow over here in the western state, part of the state.
So Tracy, to what do you attribute that growth, and how do you think about keeping that going, people engaged and supported?
Well, thank you to the ART website. We have our heat-seeking, very part-time, bilingual, 20-hour staff taking that massive list that you have of all respite providers in Washington State and constantly emailing, calling, hey. And then, we also have some respite providers that have come through because Sally asked specifically for Mary's all around services. And then we hope to keep them to stay once they go through for this one person requesting them. That's kind of on the rare side, but your massive list has helped us constantly talk to people. And as a team right now, we're meeting most Mondays for about 90 minutes. And we're talking about the respite providers. We're talking about what's working. We're asking how can we support our staff and how can we go forward and what else can we ask them and you know, share with them. So I think we've just stepped up the outreach. I don't know if Jill has other thoughts on that.
Well, I have a quick question. Are you talking about the respite provider list on the National Respite Locator?
Yes.
Well, can I ask you if you find anything that's incorrect on there, would you let us know?
Oh,
Because
absolutely. Yeah.
It's very painful to keep that up to date. People don't respond to any of our requests to update their information. So we really rely on those of you in the state coalitions who are able to do that to send us that. But
yes,
I'm so glad you're able to use that list. That's very
Ooh, we're just loving it. And then we pivoted in and started talking about to them, you know, welcome to some of our new RPAs. And so we have that there as far as those folks that are there. And again, we've got all 33 out of our 35 counties. And then we just gave them that perspective that Okanagan, which is way north kind of Canadian border, but on the Montana side, and Whitman are our two rural counties. But since 2018, we've only had one application from either of those counties, just, you know, to kind of say,
Yeah.
we could share, you know, they'll probably share. And then the last thing we wanted to just point out to them is that we have this new searchable feature on our website. So folks can go to this part of our website, which we're really thrilled. So on a sustainability level, it's a partial answer to you. We asked for money and it was a little bit more than what we expected. And our partners at the state were phenomenal. They helped make this possible. They funded this last year. It wasn't in the budget, so we asked, you know, when they were looking at carryover or anything else, if we could do this. And it robustly portrays in real time all 52 alphabetically here in this list. And then these little plus buttons, if I were coming along and I just want to see the ones that are in my county, I could just open the plus, select my county, and then the list will be reduced by just those providers in whatever county I reside in. Or maybe I want to look by type of respite. So we're seeing this as a marketing opportunity also for our respite providers. And then if they hit the blue button, they get this printed thing. So we were thinking of most of our folks being older, that we wanted big print when you are going to print it, as well as download it. And then we shared our survey results, which Jill was mentioning earlier that we just did.
Okay, so this is really very interesting, and a couple things stand out to me. One is how the data that you constantly have at your fingertips and the way you present it, to me, really supports your credibility and my sort of faith in and respect for what you're doing. I mean, I think that really helps show that you have your ducks in a row, and that you know who at any given moment, you know who you're providing respite services to and what kind of services you're providing. So I think that's really great. The outreach is fantastic, but you're also effective at it. So we don't really know why. You probably know why, but how are you hooking people? You know, you're kind of cold calling people. How is it? I see how you're honoring them in this document that you're showing. So right away, people are welcomed in and they're elevated in sort of the public presence, and now they're part of the group. But how are you hooking them during that first contact?
I think Nancy just shares the story, right? She just tells them, look, you know, especially, you know, when we have like in our King, so there's 3 counties that we have the highest applications. And we kind of mention that, and we say to them that in those counties, you know, we have a fair degree, you know, of folks coming through, but we keep telling them about this issue, about who they are and pulling through. So 61 of the applicants coming from King, Snow, and Pierce, we have a good solid there. So she's always looking at where can we beef up all the other counties. And I think she just talks with them about it. I think it's just because we've been very consistent for a lot of months. I mean, this is a lot of months that this woman is calling, emailing, and calling,
Yeah.
emailing.
Like over a year or like a half a year?
Oh
or-
yeah, probably. Jill, would you say it's been a solid effort of about maybe 9 months, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's really paying off.
Yeah, we're
Fantastic.
happy with it.
Okay.
Well, and I think in part, it's that consistency of connection, she's not pushy. She is not a pushy person. She's very soft-spoken, somewhat meek, but she's very articulate.
Uh-huh.
And so it really, I think, and she's very passionate about the work. So I think that comes through for people that they can hear. And because she's working with all of them consistently, she's working with their applications, she's working with invoicing, so she understands the business end of it
Yeah.
and can really address their questions.
She's supporting them through the whole thing, so it's
Right.
not painful for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she'll walk them through the application process, how to provide their insurance information, how long the contracts last, what does that look like, all of that. So she's that touch point. So it makes sense when she calls.
Touch point. That's a great way to put
Yeah.
it. So Tracy, you talked about going to the state for like some funding. There's some funding flexibility. Is that because they are flexible, or is there something about your relationship with them? Are they like, do they tend to just be flexible, or do you have a relationship where they trust you and are willing to allow you flexibility? How do you think that came about?
Well, I think the interesting point for Jill and I is that, so I don't know if you guys know, just a quick little snapshot of the backstory. You know, Homage, it's gone through multiple vendors, you know, hosting it. And so Homage was the last one up in Snohomish before us. And when Jill, it was probably a good 9 months of the prior team than what we have right now came and started asking us, would we be interested? And then we're really vetting us. I mean, you know, there were like hour-long, multiple conversations and in-person meetings. And so we had that support of that team for the first year, which was, you know, kind of, they'd been there for a really long time. So they're very legendary, as a number of you know, Hillary and Karen.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we have a whole new team that we never interfaced with at all, which was Dana and Jeannie now. And Jeannie will be in this next iteration if we win the award or so granted. Then Jeannie will be our main director. So they were brand new and they looked at it differently. And in fact, this whole time they've been partnering with us, asking for input. What were our ideas? How would we, you know, how would our ideas go with the 6 areas and goals? So we've been very involved.
Right.
I think it just was like chatting with them. And then the TBI gentleman also changed out. Our prior TBI person went to the great state of New York.
Yeah.
He's in the upstate area. So that whole team changed. And so it was almost like refresh. What do you guys think? And these were some things we asked and talked with them about, and they were on board. So it was just phenomenal.
So the willingness to engage and talk about. So this is really of interest to the group because often when there are leadership changes, things literally fall apart and sometimes don't exist anymore. So that's great. So in terms of sustainability planning, I mean, you're already doing a lot of things. What do you kind of need going forward in terms of what are you thinking about as a state in terms of financial and program sustainability?
Well, thanks for this. And I have not cracked it yet.
So you need to write.
This will help us a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I think, well, the other interesting part is we did, you know, thanks to, I think, again, I just want to give a lot of appreciation. You all are so robustly telling us, like, here's another thing, here's another thing, here's another thing, you know, that came out for funding. So 2 years ago, we tried with the Dana and Christopher Reeve Foundation. And, you know, no surprise, first ask, it was a no. But then second ask, it was a yes. So we have 30,000 from them to do paralysis. So again, we're focusing kind of on the military. Sorry, I have little dogs.
That's okay.
And so they gave us that started in January, and so we're at that place of like modifying a little bit during COVID, but we won't have any issue of like awarding 23 individuals some respite, and we already have 3 that will be awarded next week. So we're on track with those awards. So it's additional money.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody's keeping going. That's fantastic. And I am going to talk about writing our next meeting and give some resources, but I kind of just wanted to be in the moment here, given all the changes that are going on. And Yuta, I wanted to ask you, last time we talked, or a couple of times ago when we talked, you were engaging with some new partners. And I'm wondering how things are going in your state. Are things kind of on hold? Are you able to continue with your partnerships and with programming? What's going on there? How are things going? What challenges do you have?
Well, things are slow. You know, the respite, like everybody else, you know, we're doing what we can. We're, in terms of our, you know, grants, we work a lot with the respite vouchers. Our main program was with the day centers.
Right.
And they have been closed, of course. So we'll see there. They may reopen in June, but we expect business to be pretty slow. So we continue to push the respite vouchers. We're converting people, so to say. Of course, with the difficulties, you know, people don't want to let a stranger into the home. And one thing we're finding more was I was listening very carefully to Washington and their registered providers. So our vouchers really focus on friends and neighbors and family members. But we do get people who say, I don't know anybody, and I don't know how to find anybody. So I think that's sort of the next thing that we need to tackle, is how to help, you know, families to find that individual who can be their respite provider. And that is an issue for Arizona, and we're hearing that from our area agencies too, that in some of the rural areas, they sometimes have, if they're lucky, one agency that responds to their RFP when they renew their contracts.
Right.
So in terms of our coalition, again, things are very slow, and I don't know if you all know, but we're kind of in Arizona back at the beginning, right? We used to have a pretty strong program. Some of you may remember we had, you know, David Best doing a lot of things, and then things kind of died down and everything sort of crumbled a bit. I think on the plus side, so some things that have surfaced recently, and you know, I don't want this like in minutes or anything, please. But for example, with the new respite grant opportunity, right? So we're applying for the next round of the ACL Lifespan Respite Grant. We were all in good spirits and working with the state and area agencies and other partners to apply. At the last moment, we found out that the state said they couldn't support it. They had no money to match, and they couldn't really support this. And we almost came to the point of her saying, okay, we can't apply. And so this is going to be, I think, a real issue, that Arizona as a state is not putting any money into respite. And Arizona is pretty stingy in regard to many social service programs altogether. And so that is, I think, a huge issue we need to work on and work with the state Department of Economic Security, which is the state unit on aging here. On the other hand, sort of all of a sudden, maybe it's because I sort of reached out to them with a plea for help, the area agencies on aging, right, they have their own little association, the Arizona, I don't know what it stands for, AZ4A. They suddenly came through, oh, we want to be partners. And so that was huge for me. You don't know how huge that is, because our area agencies are very big. They're very strong. They are like top dog everywhere, right? And so for them to actually come to me, you know, and just say, hey, we believe in what you're doing. We want to be partners. We want our logo on your website. And I'm sitting here saying, yes, yes, finally.
Oh, congratulations, fantastic. All that hard work you've put in trying to build relationships is paying off.
Yeah, so that's good. And so I think we're going in the right direction there. And I think that'll be a huge step forward in building the sort of I don't know if we're going to call it Respite Coalition. So far, we've settled on either Respite Network or Respite, even just Respite Committee. Okay, so I'm not going to push the coalition, the word coalition.
Right. You want it to come from them.
Right.
Right.
Right. You know, and of course, the day center providers are very much on board. Right. So we're in good relations with them, and we got a couple of people at the state who are interested and want to work with us. And of course, you know, they are a little bit hamstrung by their bureaucracies and what's going on. So I think we are taking small steps forward. Funding is very, very limited. You know, it's like almost, I mean, like in the state, it's non-existent. So we're really starting from scratch. And so this whole idea of sustainability, yeah, we're literally at the starting line.
Yeah. So you bring up something I think I hadn't thought about, but may become important for financial sustainability over time, is that state budgets are really, really strained and will be for some time. And so one of the things that I was interested in terms of program sustainability are those alternative models. Like Doris mentioned that New York's pretty much gone virtual, and there's some training about powerful tools for caregiving. And I think throughout the country, a lot of funders are allowing different kind of models, a lot of case management, a lot of social support over phone and over social media and virtual meetings. And I'm wondering if, because your program is so day center focused, if you're seeing any alternative models emerge, or is anybody in contact with the clients that use day centers, for example? Like, what's going on there in terms of just keeping families connected? So
many of the day centers, and when I say many, I mean Arizona has like 15 licensed day centers for the whole state. That's and then there's like 2 or 3 organizations that actually run most of them in central Arizona. They do a lot of their online programming, and they have created, you know, online support groups and a lot of online activities and kind of phone pal activities. And so we have, from the Arizona Caregiver Coalition, because we're kind of the middleman for the lifespan respite, you know, grant activities. So we have been calling all our clients, and actually quite a few of them say, oh, you know, thank you for calling, but we're already getting support from the day centers. So the centers are really actually very good in reaching out and keeping that connection there and offering activities. You know, like I said, in terms of the vouchers, we are not yet in a position to actively help people really set that up. I'm using volunteers, right? I've been recruiting more volunteers to do these follow-up and wellness calls to our participants. And so right now we're really just trying to get them signed up on the respite voucher. But like I said, you know, we're discovering that families actually need help in setting that up and finding a provider. So that's kind of next.
Yeah, yes. So that brings to mind something that I haven't asked you all, but I'm wondering about your role in terms of helping programs get the PPE they need, and if that's been an issue at all. or if you have a sense of how programs are doing, providers are doing, and also if you have any role in communicating about safety and protocols for safety. And I really thought about this when Yuta was talking about the respite vouchers, and even if you're using friends, neighbors, and family members, safety is an issue, and especially if you're looking for alternatives, safety is a huge issue because you have sort of an unknown quantity. So has that been a challenge for any of you?
So this is Jill. At this point, I think because we work with provider agencies, I think the agencies themselves through the Department of Aging have kind of that access point for their own PPEs.
Okay.
Do we have information on the website around what to ask, how to ask questions with respect to COVID? Yes.
Good.
For families.
Uh-huh.
And I think I am, as part of, I'm a part of the Disability Communities Emergency Management, Statewide Emergency Management Coalition. And so some of the information that's come through that particular group is how FEMA's linking with counties, how counties are providing that kind of access through. So that's information that can be put forward for the respite provider agencies. That just came through. So that isn't something that we've tackled yet, but you know, trying to figure out where provider agencies can go if they're having problems getting access. So that's because it isn't a friends and family one, we have a little more kind of safety net, I think, around that process, but definitely putting out information for families seeking respite on what to ask. What are those questions? How do you look at your own safety and the safety for those coming through into your home? So
right. Okay. Doris, how about New York? Have you come up against that challenge of just informing, educating people about safety and having access to personal protective equipment? Oops, you're muted.
Okay, my phone, you know.
Okay, I've lost you again. I've lost the sound again.
Okay, sorry.
That's good.
My phone went on rest, and then I had to get back to the screen. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
We went into, I mean, at my agency, we went into full on sending letters out to all our clients, especially around COVID, around all the information needed around stimulus payments, all that stuff. I mean, I spent one afternoon folding and stuffing 500 letters, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We sent out a lot of paper information because you can't be sure that everybody's getting the information virtually, but yes. And we put COVID information on our website, as did the agency, and, you know, everybody just went into full throttle, get it out there. So, you know, we have for people in New York, we're tuned in. The governor does a everyday update on COVID on Saturdays and Sundays as well. So people are really informed because everybody knows that information is out there. I just wanted to, I had a comment for Yuta about the application for the Lifespan Respite Grant. We also went into panic mode at one moment because the state was like, well, we don't know if we can cover that 25% match, which they traditionally do. And we wanted to certainly apply for the full amount, which made the match much larger. But there is a in-kind possibility you might want to look into. I don't know if you've talked about that. Sorry about that. But subcontractors, the grant allows in-kind donation to go towards that match for subcontractors, some sub-grantees, and use of third-party facilities to conduct meetings. So, I mean, it's pretty narrow, but there is a possibility of at least getting some of your match out of in-kind. I just wanted to let you know that. Not that I want the competition, Mike, but.
I was going to say, that's very generous of you.
I'm glad you raised that. I'm glad you raised that, Doris. I wanted to mention that also because I'm in a little bit of shock that Arizona is not applying for another grant. And I'm wondering if you have explored that opportunity of the match, or even going to another agency that might be interested in applying.
Yeah, we are applying, but it's, you know, just barely.
Oh, good. That's a relief. When you said you were partnering with the AAAs coming on board, you're still going to be keeping the lifespan approach, though, correct? Are you
Yes.
still working with the IDD population as partners?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
That's correct. And that was really, I mean, that's kind of the big difference between the lifespan respite and what the area agencies do, right? So yes, our Division of Developmental Disabilities, they're very happy in being a partner with our voucher program. And then we really want to reach out to, you know, more diverse, non-aging caregivers. Yeah. And by the
I'm
way,
so relieved.
Yeah. It's, again, it's, you know, it's going to be a small program, but I think we're going in the right direction there. And the area agencies just have to be a partner. But then, like you said, IDD, we're also looking at grandparents. Actually, the state is very interested in trying to serve more grandparents, you know, raising their grandchildren. And so we'll probably do something in that area.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Can you share that infographic that Jill showed? That, you know, that is so cool what you're doing. And we have this whole No Wrong Door New York Connect thing, and I just sent an email to them going, I want someone to pull up a report on every respite provider in the state. It never occurred to me to try and pull that information out of there. So I thank you for that, because I think that's an unmined resource for me, and I never would have thought of it had you not shared that.
Yeah. Isn't that great? And it gives so much back to the people, to the providers, and it adds so much, it allows people to feel confident in what you're doing. Yeah, I loved it too. I think Tracy had put it up.
Oh, Tracy, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Thanks,
I had an old dog, blind dog that took way longer.
So Tracy, is there a place, are those posted on the coalition website, or can we get hold of those in another format?
Which thing, sorry?
The data presentation that you had that you share with coalition during your.
Oh, the report?
Yeah, the report.
Yeah.
It's not on the website at the moment, but we do have a coalition meeting next week, which will bring it up again.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have that coalition meeting next week. So sorry, y'all. I thought it was going to be a quick out.
No problem.
No, so we will have it in the coalition meeting next week, and yeah.
So now we'll get back to sort of writing and planning, and look forward to hearing, Doris, how your planning's going to, your virtual planning's going. But I'll ask for final questions and comments. But you know, I have a comment about when COVID-19 first hit. I just thought, oh, what is this going to do to respite that requires person-to-person contact? I'm looking at these data from around the country and from around the world. I think I'm more convinced of the importance of respite, even when we can't be in the room with somebody. Yuta, you gave a good example of this, how the day centers are still in touch with all the clients, and you're serving as a backup. And what I'm seeing is that respite plays an essential role for people that aren't connected in any other way. And even though you aren't in the room allowing caregivers to leave, you're keeping people connected in really critical ways, including, getting food, getting pharmaceuticals, looking after mental health. And so I think in our planning, we want to include all that vital information about how respite serves caregivers and families in these alternate ways. And that should be part of our planning. And you all are responding flexibly and rapidly. That's not happening everywhere, I can tell you from the data that we're seeing. So you should give yourselves a pat on the back about that, but also think about what about your leadership and about your models allows you to do that. That should be part of sustainability planning. So when the unfortunate circumstance comes, like in Arizona, and this happened in Massachusetts, to a big change in leadership, Washington, you've been really lucky. And also, I know it's your hard work also, but it's partly good fortune that you have this kind of alchemy and willingness to work together. But when that doesn't happen, you want written in your plan how to keep going, how to foster those relationships, how to remain flexible, how to keep supporting programs with alternative models. And so I'm heartened about what I'm seeing from you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about virtual planning and about how we're going to reflect these strengths in sustainability, in written sustainability plans. So we can keep this going. It's just so much more important than I even realized. Okay, any last questions or comments for one another?
I have a quick
I
one.
need to go, actually. Sorry. Bye-bye, everybody.
Oh, thanks, Yuda. Be well.
I just wanted to tell Yuda and Doris that I've lived in both their states, and so I know kind of like what they experience. So I'm happy to help.
Good, thank you. Nice offer.
That's
That's it?
it. Yep.
Thank
That's what 10.
These are always such great meetings. Thank you.
Oh, and partly because of you. Thanks so much for being a part of it. Jill and Tracy, so glad you're part of this group, but you add so much, and thanks for sharing. And I don't have information about the coalition meeting, so send something to me.
Oh, yes.
I want to be
Got
in
to
it.
see you today.
Okay. Okay.
Bye,
Thank you.
all.
Be
Thank you
well,
so
all.
much for making this.
Bye,
Have a good
guys.
weekend.
Oh,
Stay
yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Be safe. Hey, Jill Kagan, I'm going to call you after.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.